Well, out of respect for people's time, even though there may be folks entering, and I'll try to let them in through the waiting room as we go along, I'd like to go ahead and begin. We are here today for our Health Ministries Network Zoom lunch break with a focus on faith community leaders. So welcome to any faith community leaders who are joining us today. I'm new as of November, and really December and January were quiet months. And so we're really getting started with our good work now. And there's a lot of good work to do. So I'm Sarah Lane. I'm the Executive Director for Health Ministries Network, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you. I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement statement that I wrote it when I was working for the YMCA, and it would be wonderful to be able to work with folks to develop one for Health Ministries Network. But I feel it's important to go ahead and do our land acknowledgement statement before we begin. So today, let us acknowledge the peoples of the Salish Sea, Nooksack and Lummi people, who have stewarded this land and lived here since time immemorial. As we come together, share and live in this sacred place, let us breathe with a sense of gratitude and move in a spirit of unity, caring for all who seek to thrive on this land and water, and to honor those who have come before us and those who will come after us. I'd also like to begin with a thank you to all of you for being here, and to Chucknut Health Foundation, who is our financial parent organization, as well as Peace Health, who's a major sponsor for the Health Ministries Network. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. And of course, all of the faith communities that come together through us and around us. And so, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and post our agenda in the chat box once I turn it over for our dedication. But before we begin, or as we begin, I know some of you are indeed on your lunch break, so feel free to eat and take care of yourselves, because those who are caring for others are really good sometimes at not caring for themselves. So we want you to feel comfortable eating and doing what you need to do while we're here. And the other thing is, if you have your mask that you wear out and about around other people handy, please keep that handy or grab it, because we will have an occasion to don our masks and perhaps have a drawing for some coffee card winners. So we want to show off our best masks today, as well as our best faces. So thank you. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Emily Gibson, one of our board members, and a physician at Western Washington University, to read our dedication today.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just wave, okay. I'm hoping you'll hear me over the northeast wind that I'm facing right now out in the north. Some of you are hearing the same wind. Well, I wanted to acknowledge that next week is the start of Lent. So it's a time of, I think, reflection, and we think about how we walk through those weeks in preparation for the sacrifice that Christ made for us. And in that spirit, I'm going to read from John 13, starting with verse 14. So Jesus is meeting with his disciples before the Last Supper, and he has wrapped himself with a towel and begun to wash their feet. And he says, "Do you understand what I've done for you? I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, and you should also wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Now, I try to read as much as possible from medical sources, and one of my favorite physician authors is Surgeon Richard Seltzer. It's been a while since he's written any new books, but he wrote, I think, a particularly relevant story in a book called Letters to a Young Doctor that I think is relevant to the work that you all do. So he's describing his own version of foot washing, in that he would have Wednesdays off, as many doctors do, but he would head down to the public library and kind of set up a informal clinic in the public bathroom in the library for the homeless folks who would be at the library to stay warm during the day. And so he's telling a story about a particular person that he's working with. The nail of each of his big toes was like the horn of a goat. Thick as a thumb and curved, it projected down over the tip of the toe to the underside. With each step, the nail would scrape painfully against the ground and be pressed into his flesh. There was dried blood on each toe, and it took an hour to trim each big toe. The nails were so thick that even my nail cutters couldn't do it. Instead, they had to be chewed away little by little, then flattened out with the rasp. Then I washed each toe, dried him off, and put his shoes and socks back on. He stood up and he took a few steps like someone who is testing the fit of a new pair of shoes. Well, how is it? I said. It don't hurt, he said. And then he gave me a smile that I should keep in my safety deposit box at the bank until the day I die. I never go to the library on Wednesday afternoon without my nail clippers in my briefcase, because you just never know. So my reflection on both these passages is that when I lose my perspective about what I'm trained to do and who I'm meant to serve, because sometimes I kind of wallow in the mud of self-importance rather than in the fertile soil of self-forgetfulness. Then if I wash out a plug of wax from a deaf ear and miraculously restore hearing, or I remove a painful thorn in a thumb, or I clip someone's crippling toenails so they can step forth freely, or maybe I just simply sit and listen as someone cries out their heart's pain. I know I was handed these tools of healing and forgiveness in order to share their sacred sweetness with others, because you just never know. They can be of use when we least expect it. And then I'll be gifted yet with another smile for my safety deposit box. Let's pray. Dear Lord, let us never forget that you held our homely feet in your hands to show us how blessed it is to give away ourselves in service of others. Thank you for our clean feet, and create in us a clean heart of service as well. Amen.
Thank you, Emily. Really appreciate your words, your thoughts, and your prayers. As we continue today, I'd like to go around and have folks introduce themselves, and I'd like you to state your name, where you're coming from, and answer questions today. And that is, what is the color of your heart today? What is the color of your heart? And I'll call on you because I can see you on my screen, and that way we don't have to raise hands. So Carol. Oh, unmute.
Here we go. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Carol Nicolay and I'm with the First Congregational Church. I'm a health minister and my color today is yellow.
Very good. Celeste.
Well, I'm Charles Zelson, Chaz for short. And my heart today is colorless, like a clear glass of water.
Very good. All right. Celeste. Oh, Celeste, you're muted. I know
Try it again.
that's all right. Thank you. You got a dry run. That's good.
I'm Celeste Hildy. I'm from the United Church of Ferndale. My heart is probably pale pink today because my daughter is just been diagnosed with breast cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that, Celeste. Thank you for sharing. Tanya?
Hi, my name is Tanya, and I am from Brookdale Fairhaven Senior Living, and I am here to learn about you guys and just get some knowledge. And my heart today, I feel like it is bright purple. I'm very excited.
Very good. Thank you for being here, Tanya. It's good to
Thank
see you in person.
Yes.
Leanna.
My name is Liana Osterman. I'm at Sunlight Community Church in Linden. And I've also been involved in the Care Transitions Ministry, which is another program. And today my color would probably be aqua blue.
Okay, that's a great color. Glenda. Oh, Glenda, you're still muted. I know we go through these practice times.
Okay. I'm Glenda McLaughlin. I'm from First Presbyterian Church. And I guess my heart today is pink.
Oh, very good. Mary Lynn.
I'm Mary Lynn Palmer, and I'm a faith community nurse at First Presbyterian Church. And we recently lost someone in our church, so I would say my heart is blue.
Thank you. Emily.
Emily Gibson. I'm not a faith community nurse yet, but trying to get my little congregation of Weiser Lake Chapel to get some folks involved. My heart's orange today, feeling warm in spite of cold weather.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh, you're muted.
What did you say?
I said Kate.
I'm Kate Massey. I couldn't hear you.
Sorry.
I am a health minister, and I am also on the board of Health Ministries Network. And I would say, out white, sort of reflecting back the cold and hoping not to let it get in. So.
Very good. Nancy.
Hello, my name is Nancy Stimmers. I'm so happy to be back in the fold and joining you all and looking at your faces. I'm a faith community nurse for Bellingham at Home. And my heart is magenta.
The good warm color. Thank you. Dottie.
I am a health minister at Bellingham Covenant. Was a public health nurse and retired. And I think my heart is bright red. I had a good report yesterday at the doctor's, and my blood saturation was 100%.
Very good. Thank you. Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Loneman, Director of the Nursing Program at Western and the Foundation's course instructor. And my heart is blue, sort of a Kentucky blue, my roots. And Yeah, there you go.
Is that bluegrass? Is that the bluegrass?
That's part of it, sure.
Very good. All right, thank you, Bill. Pam.
I am Pam Collier, and I'm faith community nurse or parish nurse at Hope Lutheran Church in Linden. And I think my heart is blue, just past ready to get done with the remodeling and more than exhausted with trying to get a COVID vaccine for my husband.
Thank you for sharing and for being in community today. It's not the solution to everything, but it is a solution. Sylvia.
Hi, I'm a faith community nurse at First Reformed Church in Linden and care transitions nurse at Christian Healthcare Center. The color of my heart is yellow for happiness.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. I'm glad that you could join us today. Laura.
Hi, it's nice to be with you all for the first time for a few minutes today, anyway, as much as I can be here. Hi, Carol. I am Laura Norton. I'm a member actually at Christ the Servant Lutheran, but I'm on staff with First Congregational. And the color of my heart today, I would say, is periwinkle.
Ooh, I like that. Thank you. I'm glad to meet you, Laura. Is that Holly?
It's actually, it says Peter because I'm using his computer.
I saw that, but I face.
Yeah, we've had a few blackouts out here around the lake, so
yeah.
Wish that. My name is Holly Telfer, and I'm a faith community nurse at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Bellingham. We carry on services now all on Zoom. So really good at that right now. It'll be a switch when we get to go back to actually being with each other in the congregation. My heart, I think, is hot pink, which is always a color that makes me happy. And I myself have had a brush with breast cancer in the last 6 weeks. But everything is fine. Everything went well. It was just in situ. It didn't move anywhere else. So I'm really pleased about that and all the love and care and phone calls and things from friends. It's made a big difference to me. So my heart is getting bigger and bigger.
Thank you for sharing, Holly. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more empathy to some of the patients and things that they've been through.
Yeah. And Anita on the phone, would you like to introduce yourself? Anita, are you there? Okay, we'll move on, but if Anita pops on, she's welcome to introduce herself. What I'd like to do next is introduce Liana, Liana Osterman, to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, how our faith community nurses and health ministers serve, and why she serves. Liana, would you like to put your slide up?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to spotlight you, I think. I'm going to pin you. Now, it may not do any good. I'll share my screen. 1 second. There we go. Okay, take it away.
I was trying to think about how would I typify Health Ministries Network. And I was first approached by Norma Marheis when I was walking in the door at the church a number of years ago. And she said, you need to go and join us in this group. And I thought, I don't think I want anything more to join. I'm just getting rid of all these committees and things. But I did. And since then, I've thought about all the different things we've done. Now, some of this information may not be correct because I'm not the historian of the group. But it's my understanding and maybe Carol or somebody else can correct me, that Carol Story was instrumental in starting this group back in the 1980s, I believe, or 90s. I think it's the 90s. And Norma said she was in one of the first classes. That's where that comes from. But it all goes clear back to Westburg, back in the 1980s, I guess. So we're inheriting that history. The things that I noticed when I was thinking about what we do, I set it out in 4 different characters. One is the church or parish or synagogue, whichever you're in. Some of the things I think we do is focus on the well-being of the congregation, individually and collectively as a group. So right now we're all focused pretty much on COVID and how we can protect people in the congregation in terms of how we do our services by Zoom or in person, and spatial distancing and wearing masks and that sort of thing. Then I figure we plan and administer health-related activities like blood pressure screening, which we've stopped doing that since the COVID. And back a couple of years ago, we had a vaccination clinic in our church. And then I like to see what we can do with educational opportunities like diabetic classes, the 5 wishes. Now we're doing a different version of that, and long-term care planning. We provide written health educational materials, posters, bulletin inserts, and maybe you think of things that you do that are different than what I'm mentioning. One of the things we're focusing on right now with our safety committee is to provide, respond to emergency health needs during church services and other services. We've had one individual who's in the late 80s has collapsed twice in church in the last 6 months. And it's been a challenge to see how we get to her quickly and take care of her. And she's done very well and recovered fully. But it probably was related in part to her medications. But we want to make sure we have a system now for addressing these needs, knowing where everybody is in the church, knowing where all the equipment is, and making sure that all of our helpers, a lot of them are in other services, but they're all trained for CPR and that sort of thing. And we have an AED. Okay, another thing, we go ahead and visit the congregants at home and in healthcare facilities, oftentimes in the hospital, when we are allowed to go in. We participate in healthcare related committees in the church. We maintain a supply of healthcare equipment to meet emergency needs. And right now we've been doing a lot of loaning equipment out. And the community center in Linden has been very gracious. It says when we run out and we need something, they have an abundant supply. They'll allow us to use some of those. And then another thing is contributing to the church's policies and procedures, because sometimes there's things, for example, you probably already have a committee for making sure that there's protection for abuse and that sort of thing that can occur and how you manage that. The next group that I focused on are the clients or the parishioners and our family members. We consult with these clients and the family members as needed or requested. Oftentimes it's when we first hear that they've had an accident or that they're scheduled for surgery, and we will pray with the clients and family members and provide communion as requested. We serve as a liaison with healthcare providers, particularly Peace Health and the doctors that are treating our patients. We assist with referrals to community resources, and Kate is familiar with how often we send people to Northwest Regional Council as one of the best sources to send them to. We arrange for durable medical equipment as needed. If we don't have it, we will work with them to get it from the Lions or wherever. We arrange for meals for clients and family during times of need. So sometimes we just pick up on it when we know something has happened, and we'll call them and say, can we provide some meals for you? And we're doing that right now. And we have a committee that actually handles that, so we just have to refer them. We make referrals to other services in the church, such as Stephen Ministry, or maybe there's some work that needs to be done by somebody who's skilled in a construction problem or something like that, and we will call on people in the congregation who have that skill set. And then we send notes of encouragement and sometimes flowers or a prayer shawl. So then we're on to the next group. You want to move the slide up? Are you there? Whoops.
I'm not seeing.
There's another page. That's all right.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it. Go ahead and keep talking.
That's all right, I'll go ahead. For the community, we support and provide health education. We've done things at the community center where we know that all the seniors generally are gather together at noon. Of course, that's not happening right now. We've actually had a couple health fairs there and invited healthcare providers from the community to come and make little booths available to visit so people can meet these people face to face. We do blood pressure screenings there. We participated in vaccination clinics. We assist other organizations in providing basic health needs like Pam's involvement with the Backpack Buddies. Participating and representing the Health Ministries Network at community meetings. This has been kind of interesting because we're all going in different directions and we share some of that information. We support and share our expertise with these other organizations. We oftentimes will advocate for health care needs and improvement like affordable medications and assistive devices. And then of course, I encourage people to vote for legislation that improves the access, quality, and diversity of health care. And I can think of the recent example of them getting the cost of insulin down. Now I heard it's back up again, but those are one of the things that we can help. And I understand also that Medicare is now contributing to the payment for hearing aids. So that's another thing. The next group, or the fourth group, is the faith community nurse and the health minister. I have found this group to be very helpful. It's a collegial relationship. I find, because most of my experience after my early nursing was really in administration, I really need to be surrounded by people who have more immediate experience with today's equipment and management of care that I never experienced. And so that has come really true in the Care Transitions program, where I have people around the table who know far more what's going on in actual patient care than what I'm used to. We're continuing in health care education, and that is one of the benefits we have of coming to this group, because we can use it also to get the required number of hours for license renewal. And we also are involved in advocacy for healthcare needs of the community itself. And then the other thing we've done is to support one another in the different groups that we're in outside of health ministry. And hopefully we contribute to the quality of healthcare for the entire community. So that's the 4 areas that I focused on. And I talked about possibly having this online. So if you want to make a copy and add things to it that I missed, I'd be happy to have you do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liana. That was a whirlwind journey through our Health Ministries Network. And I look forward to working on that with you. I will make sure that I have the complete document so that we can work on that together and reference it. Let me see if I can unpin you here. I don't know if you're all right. Okay. All right, so we're going to hold questions to the end if there are any questions, but let's move on because we've got people on a schedule. We have our faith community nurses here, and so I wanted to kind of to give them an opportunity to talk for a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, about what's going on in their faith community today, and some suggestions I had was what's working, what needs help, and what's next. So I'd like to ask Laura Norton to speak, and would you tell us for whom are you speaking? Which congregation?
Yes, I've been on staff with First Congregational Church in Bellingham since March 16th, which was exactly when everything shut down for the pandemic. So I haven't seen people really in person. So I'm doing everything pretty much remotely. And what I was hired to do was the administrative part of care coordination. So it's a part-time job, and it's a wonderful congregation. But what I've basically been tasked with doing is creating a database of all of the parishioners, and just as a way of helping folks to not fall through the cracks, so that we have an ability to see who's been in contact with who has issues, whether it's a health issue or a pastoral care need, that kind of thing, the need for a Stephen minister, and trying to keep all of those, all that information in one place. So we're also trying to make it so that that's accessible to everybody who needs to see it. And it's just really, the whole creating of a database is something that I find that a lot of congregations are in need of. And the way that this database is a little bit different is that there are narratives of what's going on with this person, who spoke with them last time, and what was the conversation with them like a week ago, what was going on with them a month ago, you know, so there's some narrative along with the database. So I have a background as an audit CPA way back when, so I'm using Excel to do this really, hopefully really helpful database. And then just trying to keep folks connected and let people know, you know, what's going on with various people within the congregation. So it's that administrative support part of the piece in order to support folks like Carol Nicolay, who's doing the good work with people directly. So it's a new kind of a way of doing support. And as I say, I'm sort of in the background, but I get to work with some wonderful folks who are really caring for the congregation. So thanks for having me here. It's been wonderful to see you all and hear about the wonderful work you all have been doing.
Well, thank you very much, Laura, for being here. It's good to hear about what you're working on, and I do agree that, I mean, this time for connection and keeping tabs on people, it's easy for people to slip through the cracks, even in very caring communities. So thank you. Yeah, great. And the other person that I wanted to hear from was Dottie Marston. Dottie, are you still with us? You are. All right.
I am. My down. Yes, we have a very large health ministry team. We have 5 that are active, 3 who are recently trained. We have 2 nurses, 1 nurse practitioner, and 2 health ministers. And then ex officio, we have 1 cardiology nurse practitioner and a student nurse. But we haven't met in person for 11 months. However, this month we did. We were able to find a large space in our church, and the air ventilator was on and everything was fine. And we met with our new pastor, who is very unfamiliar with faith community nursing, but very receptive. And he asked great questions. He's really in favor of a referral type system. And we have a wonderful woman in the office who knows our people well and does a really good job of that. She's also in charge of the care ministry. We are the wellness ministry, but the care ministry is currently out delivering meals from the Olive Garden. And so that's why I'm the substitute today, because Kathy Sillerite is out delivering meals. She is our chairperson and does a great job. We have a very active COVID reopening committee. There was a public health nurse on that committee and someone from Faith Life, and good resources. Our church is very. Our best support group right now is the dementia support group. We have 5 caregivers, and they can't wait to get together. So we have met like on a patio, we've met outdoors. And finally, the last 2 monthly meetings, we were able to meet safely in the foyer or in a large part of our church. There's also a fledgling chronic disease support group. It's headed by a young mother who has RA, and we have given her good resources. And then you've probably heard of the Sanctuary Mental Health course. That was very well received. We got a few classes in before COVID, and then over the summer it was done on Zoom. And the group really gelled, and they wanted to have monthly lunches. So that has been on hold, but the leaders have gone ahead and worked with our youth pastor and adjusted the curriculum for teenagers and their parents, and that was very well received. So our hope for 2021 is to develop a drive-by, ask the nurse. We have a large parking lot and we think we can do that safely. And we ask the nurse, maybe go for a walk, do prayers. And I don't know about the blood pressures yet, but we are very excited about moving forward.
Wow, thank you very much. You guys are really busy. Dottie, what church are you from again? I don't know that a few people missed that.
Oh, Bellingham Covenant. It's on Bakerview. It's got a preschool, which is active right now. They're in session.
Very good. Thank you very much for sharing that, Dottie. And I know that, you know, it's interesting to see the ways, the different ways that our faith community nurses are, and health ministers are serving, whether it's calling, letter writing, food, going for walks, window visits. And, you know, there's just a lot of diversity in what we're doing. I know Celeste is here. Did you want to say anything about what you're doing today? I don't want to press upon you to do that, but if you'd like to share what your church is doing, that would be wonderful. Thanks, Celeste.
I'm trying to think what we've been doing. Our main thing we've been doing is we got what's called the Return Ministries team, and the Return Ministries team is a group of us in different areas of the church working on when we go back to church and what we need to do now and what we'll be expecting to do when we come back to church. The men of the church have, when we were putting in the new roof, we found out that a couple of our bathrooms did not have any ventilation. So they put pipes up through the ceiling and had that ready to go, and they put this new shingles on. They've been working on new ventilation filters for the furnace system to help do that type of things. I've been doing all the research behind it all to make sure that these guys realized that they had to get new MERV 13 filters for the furnaces, and just all those kind of things. We're also talking about helping people find ways to get their vaccines, and we'll try and help them. Like we've said earlier, it's real difficult. We can't even hardly find them for ourselves, so we'll do what we can. Since I started since a year ago, I set up a whole new first aid kit with the advice of some I've heard from Carol. We haven't been able to show anybody it yet.
Well, we look forward to seeing it, Celeste.
Yes. I was able to get access to Narcan because our church is near downtown. We get people that just walk into the church and wanting help. And so I haven't been able to train anybody on the Narcan yet either because there's nobody there. So those are the kind of things we've been doing.
Well, it's good to hear the diversity of the things that are happening. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I know that everyone's got their different things going on. In the interest of time, we won't continue sharing those, but know that we're all here. And if you want to connect with someone, please do. I'd like to move on to Carol Nicolay, who is our Foundations course coordinator and is going to give you a little overview of our Foundations course. And Carol, would you like me to put up our website?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
We're going to, again, Bill Lodeman and I are going to launch a 2021 Foundations course, and we are currently recruiting for people to join us in that effort. This is the 2019 course. You see Celeste there and Sylvia, and then the other person is with the Jewish congregation. Help me if anybody remembers. I'm having a memory block here on the third person. So it'll come to. So here we are. And what we is a hybrid course, components of Zoom as well as online through Western Washington University. And Dr. Bill is going to handle the Faith Community Nursing course through Westburg. And I will be handling the Health Ministries course, which is an entirely separate and new course that's for laypersons who are interested in supporting their congregations and their faith community nurses. So if you scroll down, this gives you the opportunity to read about the content of the course, focused on these areas: spirituality, professionalism, holistic health, and community. And then under the affiliation, of course, is the Westburg Institute for Faith Community Nursing. It is their curriculum that we use. And, we are faithful to that as a course. So it's a substantial course. It starts on April the 10th and lasts through June 12th. So once a week we meet online or in person through Zoom. And then the benefits are listed below that. And I won't read all of those, but you can go. There's Dr. Bill Lohman. And in a minute, I'll ask him to speak a bit about that. Here's the format and location down below. That was a previous course, obviously. Applications are now open. We are offering two diversity scholarships for those nurses or health ministers who are serving congregations that have diverse ethnicity. And the cost is $375 a person. The application is there. And so I'm going to ask Dr. Bill Lohman to speak about whatever he would like to say about the course.
Let's see. Well, we're going to meet. We have sessions at the beginning and the end of the course, and then one in the middle. But I've also volunteered just to have weekly sessions if people want to do that, just to get together and talk about the material for that week, or just how things are going, or what the color of your heart is that week. So yeah, we did it last year online, unfortunately, and we'll do it again this year online, unfortunately, but fortunately also, because it did go well, and as well as it could under the circumstances. So yeah, if you've got folks that are interested, have them contact Sarah or Carol. And the online components are not terrible. They're pretty, yep, Carol's holding up the scope and standards booklet from the ANA there, which is one of our manuals. And yeah, I think, the online material is not difficult to do. It doesn't take too much technological savvy because I'm not that technologically savvy myself. So we'll all do fine.
Yeah, we make it as simple as possible, and we're going to have some pre-sessions for people to get to know each other and to practice a little bit with the online portions. And Sarah has even arranged for people who might not have the most current computers to borrow, check out one of our iPads. So that will make it possible for people who might not currently have a computer, and we'll do our best. This is the manual that comes from the Health Ministries Network, the Health Ministries Association, I should say. And this is the curriculum that we follow for the health ministers. So, and I'll be meeting with them every week on Zoom to talk about their efforts. So we learned a lot last time, didn't we, Bill, about how to do this?
And I think at the beginning, middle, and end sessions, those are like half-day sessions at least. I guess we're doing pretty much a full day at the beginning and the end, and maybe a half day in the middle. And we bring in other people, experts from the community. Some of you, parish health nurses, are going to be part of a panel, I think, on the opening day, sharing your experiences. So it's a nice mix of people. And the curriculum Westburg put together is very nicely done. It's their new curriculum for faith community nurses, just came out, what, 2 years ago now? Yeah. So.
Very good. Thank you both so much for doing this. Celeste has a question.
I have a new member in the church who has had cancer of her eye and is visually impaired. So she's unable to work. I don't know how much she can read. Is there anything for her that she could be able to take this class or not?
Let's talk about that offline. And there's nothing we have already in place, but there are a lot of tools that we can use. One of the things I did want to mention, Celeste, is that we purchased a year's worth of Zoom webinar with interpretation services. Now, that does not, of course, that does not help the visually impaired necessarily, but it does allow for people who do not speak English to participate in live sessions and have interpretation going on simultaneously at 80% with English in the background at 20%. And so we look forward, I hope, to reaching out to communities that speak other languages, our Spanish-speaking community, perhaps the Ukrainian community, different communities. And so we really do want to make this as open and accessible to people as possible. So let's talk, Celeste.
Yeah.
Okay. And please do let people know that we really are, when we talk about reaching out to different ethnicities, it's not necessarily ethnicities, but underserved populations. So yes, that does include people who do not speak English, but underserved communities include rural communities, and they include a lot of diverse and different groups. And where there's the need for a faith community nurse or health minister, we'd like to help meet that. So please do keep that in mind. So I appreciate that. Thank you both so much. This has been a lot of information, and we're going to just continue that fire hose of information a bit longer, except we're going to do it with a little bit of fun. So I'm going to turn it over to Kate Massey, and you can reintroduce yourself and let us know what you're talking about.
Well, there's just so much. First of all, this is not my creativeness. I did not do this on my own. This is just a conglomeration of things. There's been a lot of talk about masks, single masks, double masks, foggy masks, what have you about masks. And so just going to share a few top 10 things about wearing masks and a few tips. So the number one reason to wear masks is that they protect us. Number two, they protect others from us. Number three, masks save money on lipstick and all other cosmetic procedures. Masks set an example. As you know, in your role, you are one of them who set the example for others. Five, masks are an opportunity for creative expression. You can put promote your cause or cause a smile with what you put on your mask. And I have seen a lot that have done both of those things. Number six, masks help the economy recover. Goldman Sachs tells us that for each lockdown, there is a 5% loss to the GDP. So wearing your mask can help the economy. Number seven, masks make us more attractive. What, you say? That's silly. Well, there's a bit of evidence about people who find the number one feature about other people that is attractive to be their eyes. So that's still in full view. But there have been a number of studies now across gender and across some race that would indicate that visual pictures of someone wearing a mask, people find the same picture more attractive than the person not wearing a mask. There was no, this was not a super scientific study, so I don't have a lot of correlation versus causation and all those kinds of things that we all really like to glom onto, but it is sort of interesting. I wonder if it's a treatise on dental work or what all that's all about. I'd be interested to hear your theories if you have any. Number 8. And this is certainly relevant for you all from the rest of us. Masks show essential workers our appreciation. I've heard from a number of nurses in the hospital who work all day saving people's lives and come outside and see people not wearing masks and they just feel so disrespected. So for all, all the essential workers, I think it really shows something. Number 9, masks give us one more thing to remember when we leave the house, thereby increasing our brain nimbleness, as I refer to it. You know, there's a little song about keys, wallet, phone that we can all sing to ourselves. Now we're going to need like an asterisk, keys, wallet, phone, mask, everybody else's mask, all those kinds of things. Now, the last one, number 10, is that masks help the kids go back to school, and what's closest to our hearts is congregations getting together in the places that they treasure together. So those are the top 10 reasons to wear a mask. And then a few tips on what's becoming complicated about them. And again, at some point, I'd love to hear what people have to say. The big complaints we hear about the fogging, masks fogging up, and what can you do? Little summary of some of the research. People suggest putting a thin coat of dish soap on them, like make a little sudsy thing, dip your glasses in, wave them around till they dry off, and it makes a little bit of a surface layer that limits the surface tension, and so the condensation doesn't stick as much. I've not tried any of these, so I won't swear by them, but I'd be curious if anybody has. Second one was to use some sort of solution, you know, like the scuba divers or the skiers put in their lenses. They say that works. I'm not a scuba diver, but I'm a snorkeler when I can be, and it's certainly a little less highbrow, but we don't have a solution. We just spit in our masks, and I haven't tried that with my glasses either. So, but it does seem like it might work for the same reasons. Additions, adding in some tissues right around the nose part. I've certainly heard that works. Folding it down, the very top part, especially if it's a surgical mask, folding it down. I'm sure you guys are all old hat to this, but I'm just throwing them out there in case you have a chance to help somebody. And the last one is sort of some adjustments. Maybe tying the things tighter, pulling the bottom one up over the top one. If you're someone who does the ties, I've heard that can sort of pull it tighter, and then the vapors don't get out as much. So there's all of those things that require some adjustments and some tips and some extra work on our part. And then there's this whole double masking thing that's coming out now. I was sort of stunned yesterday when I heard statistics that 40% of droplets are prevented by the sing mask and 80 to 90% by a mask. I thought, for heaven's sake, why have we only been doing 40%? Why did we think that was good enough? That seems like a shame. But anyway, there are lots of ways to go about that, I think. And I have one of these Bondier masks. It's kind of one of the common brands, and ordered a whole kit full of the liners that are adhesive, and you can just stick them right in. They have a little adhesive thing, and that seems to be a not so noticeable extra layer. It doesn't, I don't feel like I've got a mattress on my face like I did when I put on 2 cloth masks. I did not enjoy that feeling. So I think there are some adjustments we're all learning to make, like the fogging and the double masking. And I will confess that the hardest adjustment for me, and again, I would appreciate your tips if you have any, is in the how to handle it when other people aren't wearing masks at all or appropriately, and continuing to use it as an act of practicing compassion, I guess, for I don't know their story. I don't know why they're not wearing it that way. And what's my role from here? Just one more layer, I think, of the wearing the masks that we all are in and need to just acknowledge. That's a really hard part for those of us who like things to be the right way, so everybody does the right thing, and sometimes it isn't that way. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think those are all things that are going on out there with masks. And that's what I had about masks, but I hear we're supposed to don our masks pretty soon. Is that right, Sarah? Is that where we are?
Let's don our masks, and then we'll take a few questions. So look at those gorgeous masks. Very cool. I made a mask to look like my dog, so that when we walk, we look like twins. It looks like we've got some beautiful colors and some shininess. Voters, very nice. This is super cool to see everybody sharing their masks. I just took a screenshot. And I'm going to take mine off because I'd like to read a prayer. And this perhaps Sylvia, who had a question, may get at the heart of mask wearing. A prayer for putting on a face mask by Reverend Richard Bott, moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Canada. Creator God, as I prepare to go into the world, help me to see the sacramental nature of wearing this cloth. Let it be a tangible and visible way of living love for my neighbors as I love myself. Christ Jesus, since my lips will be covered, uncover my heart, that people would see my smile in the crinkles around my eyes. Since my voice may be muffled, help me to speak clearly, not only with my words, but with my actions. Holy Spirit, as the elastic touches my ears, remind me to listen carefully and caringly to all those I meet. May this simple piece of cloth be shield and banner, and may each breath that it holds be filled with your love. In your name, and in that love I pray. Amen. All of you, thank you for sharing your mask and for praying this sentiment with us. Whose birthday is closest to today's? Does anybody have a birthday in January or February? And once, yes, Glenda has a birthday. When is yours, Glenda? Oh, you're going to have to unmute. Hold on, I'm going to ask you. Go ahead.
Well, it was January 6th, that horrible day.
January 6th. Okay.
Yeah.
Is anybody closer to today than January 6th? Don't want to miss anybody. Okay. If January 6th is the closest birthday, then Glenda, we're going to send you a $20 Woods gift card. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I certainly didn't expect that.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you all being here. And I did want to open this up to any questions before we close with a dedication. I'm happy. Go ahead, Dottie.
Yes, Carol, I was really interested in the new curriculum and wondered if we can purchase that even though we're not in the class.
It's it's not something that you can purchase because it's designed for the people that sign up. So it's going to be the individual health ministers who help design their own curriculum. We use the 11 points from the Health Ministry Association. You can buy these books online through Health Ministry Association right there. They have a website.
Okay. And I will try to gather Kate Massey's top 10 plus tips. And Carol, if we can send the titles to the books and some of the notes from today, and I will put together notes for our meeting so that you have these resources and send that to you all. Okay. Sylvia, did you have any questions you wanted to ask to everyone before we close? I know that you posted a question in the chat box. Okay. Well, maybe we can continue that discussion later. I will go. Oh, Sylvia, did you have a question you wanted to discuss with folks before we leave?
My reception is extremely patchy, so I haven't heard a lot of what was said. So I'm sorry if I didn't hear Kate telling all of the tips on masks. And that was a question I had, is there are so many people in the congregation who are so fearful about things, and others who just are sort of happy-go-lucky. So I'm just wondering, you know, some say don't live in fear, and others say you aren't being careful enough. So what's the happy medium there for our congregations? I know we have one service where strictly everyone wears masks, and the other service, it's up to the individual. So what do some of you do?
That's a good question, Sylvia. She wants to know what we do to balance that perspective on being fearful and being protective and being compassionate. How do we find that balance? Does anyone have tips?
Well, I don't have an answer, but I will say that it's up to the church leadership to set the standard for the congregation, in my view. And in the case of the congregational church, it's our moderator and our leadership team who say what is going to happen. And until we move to phase 2, we are not opening the church. That's what's happening at First Congregational.
Okay.
So for Hope Lutheran, we have opened, we have a small congregation right now. Those that are really high risk are staying home. And there's been maybe 20 people, and they're spread out throughout the whole church. So everybody's at least 6 feet apart and everyone's wearing a mask. We had one person, because medically he couldn't wear a mask, he went up to the choir loft by himself. So I think they're trying to keep some windows open, and so they're trying to do everything that they can. Before you come in the church, you wash your hands, and they have masks in case people forgot theirs. So they're trying to be on top of all of it.
Thank you. I did type a couple of these notes in there for you, Sylvia, as well, in case you're missing pieces. You know, I did get this question from Sylvia the other day, and I've thought a lot about it because it's something that I've encountered with so many people. And you know, in Christian churches, 2 things that have stood out to me greatly, and this is very personal, is Matthew 22. We're charged to love God with our hearts, our souls, and our minds, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. And when I put that question out, you know, what does that mean? What does that love mean? it's a good talking point. You know, how do we love well? How do we love our neighbors as ourselves? What does it mean to love ourselves? And of course, loving God above all else. And the second thing is the discussion in Matthew 22 about Caesar's image on a coin. And oftentimes masks are politicized for some people. And this is where we have to think about, you know, when we're being asked as citizens of this nation or state or county to do something, how does that relate to our spiritual and our religious? Give to Caesar what Caesar's. And that's, you know, I try to draw that line as well. So you can either draw the line or you can enlarge the space, I think. But I think that reviewing the Sermon on the Mount is always a really good place to start. Are there any other questions before I close with the dedication? Okay. Then my dedication in closing is by J.R.R. Tolkien. It is a quote from the Fellowship of the Ring. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king. Thank you all for being here today and for sharing. Please continue doing your good work and know that we're here to support you. And we will follow up with notes and resources. Thank you so much.